Yeo. Now, the NAFTA partners accounted for about $19.2 trillion in economic output in 2013, and that is more than 1/4 of the world's gross domestic product. So for more on Canada's perspective on NAFTA, 20 years since the agreement was signed, we're joined by Diane Francis, author of Merger of the Century, Why Canada and America Should Become One Country. Diane, good to see you again.
Great to be here.
So do Canadians overall feel that NAFTA has benefited them?
I think they feel that what damages there were dislocations because of the low labor costs, have been more than overcome and compensated for. But, you know, our relationship directly with Mexico is really not that significant, although there's a lot of tourism and some trade. But really, they're a trading partner once removed. Our real closeness, sociologically, economically, is with the U.S.
And that's a point that Christian Yeo just touched on in his report over there. One of the issues being Mexico's anger about Canada's refusal to, well, about Canada's demanding of visas in order for Mexicans to enter Canada. How can these relations be fixed? Why is Mexico viewed as the distant cousin in this arrangement?
Well, I think that there isn't a history of interrelationships. The United States, remember, is now home to 1 out of 3 Mexicans in the world. 30% of Mexicans, people of Mexican descent, live in the United States now. And so that is an enormous political lobby, enormous sociological lobby. And the Mexicans are a mighty powerful influence on the policy and politics of the United States and the consciousness of the United States. They don't have a presence much at all in Canada.
One of the concerns with Mexico is that it would suck jobs out of the U.S. Has NAFTA created more jobs for Canadians?
The giant sucking sound of
right,
Ross
exactly.
Perot. Well, look, it has. You know, these are situations where some people take some jobs out of one country. Everybody specializes in what they do best. Canada lost, and the United States lost, low labor cost jobs to Mexico, no question, but have gained other things as well, and sort of investment opportunities, tourism, and so on.
What have they gained? What has Canada gained? What has been the pros out of this arrangement for Canada?
With Mexico?
Mexico and the U.S.
Well, with the U.S., it's enormous export income in terms of energy, commodities, auto and auto parts, electronics, manufacturing, high-end manufacturing has come out of Canada to the United States. And the United States is the biggest supplier of all kinds of goods and services to Canada. Canada's also invested very heavily in the U.S. economy.
Right. And in terms of Canada and Mexico, how has that relationship yielded benefits for Canada?
It's a miniature, very miniature version of the benefits between the U.S. and Canada. It is, as I say, removed because there's not that personal interrelationships that you have with, you know, the southwest part of the United States and Illinois in particular, that with Mexico, Canada does not have those bridges that have been built socioeconomically between the people.
Now, you mentioned energy, and one of the ideals behind NAFTA was energy cooperation. One of the big sticking points is the Keystone Pipeline and Canada's frustration with the U.S. over any resolution on that.
Well, yeah, the frustration is that this is the 82nd pipeline they want permission to build across the border. 81 have been built without any problem. The 82nd is now the problem. And I think it's because the oil sands is disliked vehemently by the environmental movement, and they're trying to stop it on that basis.
Has NAFTA then held Canada back from developing its natural resources?
No, not at all. I wouldn't say that at all. The other synergies, I might say, actually, between Canada and Mexico is mining. Canadian mining companies are very, very commonplace down there. And now that they're opening up the oil industry in Mexico, that's going to be huge opportunities for Canadians as well. There'll be a lot more business done between the two.
What would Canada want from the future out of NAFTA? What significant changes would most benefit Canada?
I think it's doing just fine. I think that the border is thickening. There's a lot of regulations and red tape. Canadians want to be able to have goods and services cross with less friction and hassle than is now the case. And Americans would want the same thing, and they're trying to work toward that separately from Mexico.
And of course, we've got the Trans-Pacific Partnership that's being negotiated, and we'll see how that will pan out with 12 Pacific Rim countries, including the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. We're going to have to leave it there, though. Thank you so much, Diane Francis, author of Merger of the Century, Why Canada and America Should Become One Country.